Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live via SHR Media and High Place Planet Talk Radio from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. And it is beautiful as well as very cold today. Holly Dunn, how are you? Dean Malik, hi. Dwight, hello. I'm saying hello to folks in the Facey chat who are joining us this evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My guest today is Congressional candidate John Horst, who is running in District California 52. So excited to have him here. We have a lot of things to talk about, some interesting laws that he would like to see passed regarding business and cybersecurity, college tuition, things like that. Hopefully we will get to everything. Tamara, hello. Mr. Antoine, hi. Joseph, hello. Welcome. Stephen, hi. And welcome. Man, it is every bit of Friday today. Before we get to our guests, a little bit of housekeeping. I just mean, I feel like I did the whole week in one day. Anybody else feeling like that? I feel like I did the whole week today. Greg Wilson is here from Three Creators Symposium. By the way, he is responsible for our opening music, which is also an even better opening video when I get that up and running. And you should join us tonight. I think I'm going to hang out with the Three Creators gang tonight at 8:30. Check out their website on Three Creators Symposium. Three Creators with a K. Symposium, but a great bunch of guys, a great bunch of conservatives. Deontay Johnson wants me to let the whole world know that he is here in the chat. Garrett Kerr, one of my former students, welcome. Hello. Yes, Greg Wilson, it is the best opening video ever. You are correct, sir. Andy Barkley, hello. Rick, hi, and welcome. If you are not following me on Facebook already, on the show page, it's Money Talk with Melanie. Please do like the show page, please. I'm up to I don't know, 4,400 friends. I'm running out of room, and I have like 200 and something requests on ice right now. And there are some that I'll friend right away. I don't know if I should tell you the criteria, and I don't want anybody to be like mad at me. Basically, like right off the bat, if you have 200 or more mutuals, I friend you right away. If it's less than that, then I gotta look a little closely. Not because I don't love you all, because I do. But you know, there's any woman on social media knows the situation. Okay, it can be daunting, and then when you're in the media, it just gets to be a little more daunting when when 85% of your friend requests are from men. You gotta take a close look. That's all. So, but your patience is greatly appreciated. My Twitter handle is @MoneyTalkMel. Please do follow me there. Hi, Josh is in the building. How are you? Chris Gaines is here from PatriotGains.com. Check out his website. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. What else do I need to tell you? I think that's it. If you really want to follow my personal Twitter, you can, and talk politics, and you don't mind getting your feelings hurt every now and then. @NJGOP Diva is where you can follow me there. Sean Kendrick, welcome. Well, okay. I was going to talk like basic, like business, money news, but I guess I kind of have to. Texas is in the house. I don't have Tourette's. It's just that Texas is such a great state, and I get excited when people from Texas are here. And Josh is here, and he's from Texas. Anyway, I guess I have to talk about the memo, right? Because that's like the big elephant in the room. There's some dirty stuff done, and there's a couple of reasons why I want to talk about that. Doug is here. Welcome, Doug. Well, I think Doug might be my biggest fan. Everybody else don't be mad, because I just think Doug, he shares all my stuff. He likes all my stuff. He really, Doug's like my unpaid publicist. So welcome, Doug. I adore you. Thank you so much for everything. Anyway, welcome, Bill. Hello. But the memo, they did some dirty stuff. I mean, it seems pretty clear that the FBI was really trying to jam up President Trump. It's like ridiculous. It's complete. I don't. What they did was they submitted that dossier by that guy whose name I can't recall right now, but it was a dossier saying all kinds of salacious things about President Trump, but then candidate Trump, and they submitted it to the FISA court without saying, by the way, this is opposition research. Like, really? I'll bet you one thing. I'll bet you there's one like really ticked off judge right now. Would be my guess that judge they lied to a federal judge, like in writing. It's I'm surprised, quite frankly, that first of all a couple of them are still there, and that they spied on Carter Page, who's a private citizen. But what they did was Todd Kittner in the chat, and welcome Todd, mentioned that they spied on Carter Page without based on some I'm trying to find the right word that I'm trying to find a strong enough word without using something very colorful, because it's insane what they did. Thank you. Steele was the name of the guy who wrote the dossier with all that false information that could not be confirmed, and submitted it to the FISA court so that they could spy on Carter Page, which, he was just a person to focus on because they figured Carter Page had to talk to everybody, including President Trump. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And I'm really surprised that the people who have been involved, Andy McCabe resigned, but you would think that a lot more heads would be rolling and a lot more people will resign. And frankly, not for nothing, I don't know. I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been like more serious, issues. I fully expected before the week was out that somebody was going to mysteriously disappear or something like that. Michael Patterson in the Facey chat, and welcome Michael, says lock them all up. now the American people need this to happen. Well, they do. And the fact that President Obama lawyered up, what's that tell you? I'm just saying. That's the whole thing is unbelievable. Honestly, it really is. It's unbelievable that these people could do this. Okay. So the other big story, and I do live in close proximity to Philadelphia, so I guess the Philadelphia Eagles fans will like absolutely kill me if I don't mention. Well, Henry Essick, welcome. Well, here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, there's a Justin Timberlake concert this weekend that's free, and some folks are going to be playing football around it. That's my perspective of Super Bowl Sunday. Even though, oh my gosh, I'm originally from Philly. Should I tell anybody that? But I am. I'm originally from Philly. So, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to the Justin Timberlake concert. And some really good commercials. I will not be actually watching the Super Bowl. So I don't know what that feedback is, but I'm going to try to fix that. I apologize. But social media is such that I don't even have to watch the game. Does that make me a terrible person? That I'm probably not going to watch, unless there's boys involved. If I end up hanging out with boys, then I'm probably going to end up watching the Super Bowl, but I doubt it. Anyway, it's all about Justin Timberlake, but good luck to the Eagles, because I guess I am originally a Philly girl, and if I have to take sides, as cute as the QB on the Patriots is, Tom Brady, as cute as he is, I have to cheer for the Eagles. So good luck, Eagles. Go Eagles. I have to say that before we go to our first break. Yes, Greg, I think you're right about that, but I think it's been resolved. Thank you, darling. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is John Horst, congressional candidate in California, District 52, and I'm excited to have him back on the other side of the break.
What if Mrs. Clinton had become president? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, I shudder to think of how dismal our lives would be with a Mrs. Clinton administration. For starters, God-given rights that are recognized in the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights would be under an assault far greater than what occurred during the Obama regime. The deep state dwellers would be literally drowning out our exceptional nation way of life under a sea of regulations, some of which could be connected to a United Nations-inspired eradication of our national sovereignty. Robert Mueller, John Podesta, James Comey, and many others would be enjoying the prospect of totally getting away with the abuses of power they have been wielding, and there would be no effort whatsoever to drain the swamp. The cabal of leftist collaborators came within an inch of unleashing a level of misery that rivals fallen nations like Argentina and Venezuela. My fellow Americans, give thanks to God and arise to stand for our future and that of our children and children's children. God bless you. God bless America, and may America bless God. I'm Ron Edwards.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I am happy to welcome joining us today John Horst. He is a congressional candidate for California's District 52. A little bit about my guest. He was elected to 2 terms to the Mira Mesa County Planning Group as secretary for 5 years and chairman for 3 years. He advocated for his community and other communities in the district on matters decided at all levels of government. He was also elected to 3 terms on the Mira Mesa Town Council as treasurer. He has also worked as an information system security manager. He manages cybersecurity compliance for a joint tactical data link product used by the Navy, Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Air Force to provide a tactical situational awareness to troops in the field. And he's also a cybersecurity engineer. John has supported software development efforts for Navy personnel on equipment readiness reporting and is recognized as a Pacific Fleet subject matter expert for the U.S. Navy equipment readiness reporting. So without further ado, welcome, John Horst. How are you?
Melanie, thank you very much. Very good. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. So I guess, is there anything that I left out of your bio that you'd like the audience to know about?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I come to the race from the world of cybersecurity. I like to joke around about, we've been sending doctors and lawyers to Congress all of these years, and, look where that's gotten us. And so I think it's time that some of us who understand how the economy runs on information technology today need to start stepping up and, taking on the responsibility for public policy.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I feel like, some of these people don't, know what they're talking about. I think that half the time these people who are making laws that don't make any sense, And many times it's because they've left out the end user, us, and people like yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I listen when I listen to C-SPAN once in a while, especially if the hearings have to do with technology. And I just find myself pulling my hair at the questions that are being asked of the witnesses. If you don't know how to ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers.
That makes a lot of sense. And if you don't have, I would think, if you don't have a background or, a breadth of information where technology is concerned, and there's a huge gap everywhere when it comes to technology. How would questions, how would you know the right questions to ask?
No, yeah, you wouldn't. Everything from privacy to the security of our power grid and our critical infrastructure. You just have to know something about the industry and the technologies involved if you're going to be able to ask the right questions. That
makes a lot of sense. So was that the impetus for you deciding to run for Congress, or what was it?
No, actually, it was something exceptionally local that sort of blossomed into something that carried it all the way to Washington, D.C. The exceptionally local part of this was a 20-year-old young woman and her 9-year-old niece were walking from a military housing complex across the main street that I live by. They were crossing the street to go to the elementary school, and they get hit by a car. This was one of those intersections, and when you live in a neighborhood, you just think to yourself, something bad's going to happen one day. Well, that was the day, and so I started working with our city government on what it would take to get a four-way stop sign and a crosswalk there for these kids walking to school. That's when I became familiar with our planning group, decided to run for a seat. We got the four-way stop sign and crosswalk. We got that done in 6 months, and that was pretty surprising to everyone else in the community.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we got, I solved that hyper-local, in the neighborhood problem. I learned how decisions were made in my community. I ran for a seat on the planning group. And on the planning group, I became aware of a public school that had been fully funded in 1998. Now, mind you, it's 2009, and the land is still vacant.
Wow.
And so I started asking questions about what's going on here. Well, it turned out there was a U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which is a federal bureaucracy, would put certain environmental requirements on the school district. Every time the school district felt that they had met them, Fish and Wildlife would move the goalpost.
Move the bar, yeah, exactly.
There's constant changing of requirements. So I asked, has anybody talked to our congressman, and was shocked to find that nobody had even thought of that. So I went and began building relationships with my congressman's staff, and he ended up visiting a street fair event that we had held in the community. We pulled him aside, we showed him the project. He looked at his staff and said, I want to know everything there is to know about this. And then I want to go visit the site. Well, the site was supposed to be Dr. Jonas Salk Elementary School. Dr. Peter Salk, Jonas Salk's son, is a scientist here in San Diego and had been very active in the design of the school. So I looked at the congressman's staff and I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reach out to Dr. Peter Salk, figure out what his calendar looks like. I'll work with you guys, congressman's staff, figure out what his name is Brian. Figure out Brian's calendar. Put your calendars together. We'll get you out to the site. When we did that, when we got that date set, and this was the most entertaining part of the whole experience, I called the school district, I called the city council, and I called the mayor. And I did not ask permission from any one of those three. I told them that we're going to have Congressman Bill Bray and Dr. Peter Salk out at the school site on this day at this time. You folks are welcome to join us if you like.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness, not permission. And so we pulled that off. We introduced them. Brian goes to Washington, takes this up with the Speaker of the House. It was John Boehner at the time. they began reaching out to other communities to start. There were quite a few projects like this that environmental regulations and red tape were coming up. Speaker Boehner decides to hold hearings in the House of Representatives in D.C. I get a call from my congressman's staff telling me we need your help getting the executives from the school district out to D.C. to testify. Now, Melanie, back up here. This started with somebody getting hit in my neighborhood and me getting on a local board and then me building a relationship with my congressman's staff. Now the Speaker of the House of Representatives has called hearings in Washington. I don't know. That's just pretty cool.
That's very cool. Listen, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And bless you for being on a zoning or planning board. That those are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but the congressman wrote a bill, 3 pages long, basically saying Fish and Wildlife, you have 90 days to conclude your permit review, or the school district will be considered permitted to build the school.
Beautiful.
It didn't become law. It didn't need to become law. It was designed to be a shot across the bow, and it worked perfectly.
Right.
2 months later, school district comes to us on our board and says, we've got good news. We just got our incidental take permit. And long story short, this year is the 3rd year Dr. Jonas Salk Elementary is teaching our kids in Mira Mesa. And Dr. Jonas Salk Elementary is the only elementary school in San Diego County with a fully equipped science lab. That was one of the signature items of the way it was designed.
Of course.
And we're just immensely proud. And Brian lost the election the following year. This was 2011, 2012. We broke ground on the school right after he lost the seat to the person who holds the seat right now. And when we broke ground was when I decided I'm going to win that seat back for us. Because I saw what happens when you have initiative and leadership in Congress that is working with an engaged and active community. To use a football analogy, as we go into the Super Bowl, a running back is only as good as the people up in front of him that are blocking.
True.
Our congressman, he was our blocker. He was not the guy who scored the touchdown. Our school district scored the touchdown. Our congressman blocked. And so when people ask me, John, why are you running for Congress? I tell them, I'm running to be your fullback. I'm running to blow open a hole in the defensive line of the federal bureaucracy so that our mayors and our city council people and our school board, that they can punch the ball in the end zone and solve problems here locally in our community.
That's excellent. I love it. And that's how a lot of people get interested in public office. They see a problem, they try to solve it, and they start realizing how difficult it can be or how easy it can be. I have a question in the chat, and I know this is not something we talked about, so if you don't know the answer, it's cool. It's not a problem. But Greg Wilson in the chat asked if you know or have an opinion on the Delta smelt issue. Yeah, right. On the Delta smelt issue and how much it relates to the damaged agriculture and the drought issues.
It has everything to do with it. The Delta smelt issue is more of a Northern California issue. We're down here in Southern California. We're lucky in a sense because the bulk of our water comes from the Colorado River through the Imperial County. So we sort of are tucked into a corner here, and we don't get affected by the California drought conditions as badly as the Central Valley is. But he's absolutely right. The Delta smelt issue, we're watching trillions of acre feet, trillions of gallons, hundreds of thousands of acre feet of water is going from our mountains of the Sierra Nevadas, which is where our watershed and our snowpack is. And it's just going right into the ocean because of overly unrealistic environmental regulations.
Ridiculous environmental regulations. And you guys have been going through this for years now, haven't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're in a boom and bust cycle. I mean, we had a really wet year last year, so everybody was happy. And we've had an exceptionally dry winter. And now they're starting to talk drought again. And so it's a water boom or water bust. And it's just not, there's no way to do public policy.
Agreed. Agreed. Absolutely. Great question, Greg. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Were there any particular concerns once you decided that you were going to run for Congress? Were there any laws or any areas that are of particular concern to you as part of your platform?
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity is probably the most important on a national level. I would say I'm also something of a monetary policy geek. That's a very difficult thing to run for office on. It's very difficult to soundbite discussions on monetary policy. But what I try to do is help people understand that there are really three economies. There's the political economy of Washington. That's just a black hole of waste, fraud, abuse, and incompetence. And then you have what I call the speculative economy of Wall Street. And then there's the wealth-creating economy of Main Street. And the way I like to describe the wealth-creating economy of Main Street, we have this embarrassment of riches of great beer out here in San Diego. Let me tell you, the craft beer scene is spectacular. And every craft brewery started out as a science project in somebody's garage. Somebody took the things of nature, water, hops, grain, and all kinds of other interesting ingredients, and went out and made something that people liked, and they made it better than the last guy or the next guy or the guy down the street. And so people are happy to pay a little bit more for these new and interesting varieties of beer. That's wealth creation right there. Taking the raw materials of the earth, making something interesting, something new, something unique, something people like and want to buy. Wall Street comes along, and they lend into a science project. So the guy can take a science project and take it to a commercial real estate, buy plant and equipment, and actually hire people, and scale up and multiply the creation of wealth. And in this story, the thing I stress is the wealth is in the beer, not the loan. And that's the problem with our economy. We have financialized our economy, and we are leaning far too heavily on credit rather than wealth creation for our economic growth. We need to get Main Street back first in line for the nation's money supply, get back to creating wealth. Wall Street should be second in line. We need to significantly scale back the speculation and the derivatives and things like that. And then Washington needs to be last in line for the money supply. Right now, it's the exact opposite.
Well,
and that's where our struggle is.
That is definitely where our struggle is. And I think, how do you think President Trump is doing in that regard? Would you support his policies? Are you middle of the road? Would you be against his policies? How do you feel about how he's doing where monetary policy is concerned?
I would like to see him moving further and faster, but I like what I'm seeing. The tax reform was absolutely essential. That's such a huge win, and we need to keep our foot on the gas in that respect. People out here in California, of course, are complaining, as people in New York are, because we're high-tax states. And I look at them and I tell them, I said, so let's lower our state taxes.
Exactly. I live in New Jersey, so I hear you.
Yeah, it's that simple. Instead of whining about the Trump tax bill, we need to get to work lowering our taxes here in California, and the folks in New York need to do the same.
Yep.
And so I really like what I'm seeing. I thought the State of the Union address was absolutely spectacular. I think Trump set exactly the right tone, and I think 65-70% of Americans agree with that. I think he's doing a great job.
I mean, that was really amazing that he polled so well. I mean, listen, I agree with you that it was a fantastic speech, and the polls showed it. And he was speaking, I think, at the RNC winter meeting yesterday, and he listen. This is not a part of his personality that I love particularly. But I did think this was funny. He pointed at the news crews and said, even the haters back there gave me good ratings on my speech. I was like,
Melanie, honestly, it's really satisfying for me to watch this, because Here's what the press does. They take something somebody says. They will adopt the most inflammatory interpretation possible.
Sure.
Completely disregarding other reasonable interpretations. They will adopt the most inflammatory interpretation. Then they go out and find somebody to be outraged by their interpretation. And then they report the outrage like it's breaking news.
Right.
And finally, they're getting called on it by the president. It's an absolutely beautiful thing.
It is. I'm one of those, kind of prissy people who believes in decorum and doing things the proper way, particularly publicly. And but I think what I'm starting to conclude is that I'm actually jealous, because I would like to say things like that, but I'm not rich enough or famous enough yet to do that. But when he said that yesterday, I was like, only President Donald J. Trump would point to the press and say, even you haters back there gave me a good wow, just wow. So listen, I just find that to be incredible. So you're supportive of the just so funny. You're supportive of the tax cuts, and you would like to see him moving quicker, is what you're saying. More quick.
I think we need, yes, I think especially on getting back, for example, get back to Glass-Steagall, get back to where we once were, where banks, the fundamental role of banks is to lend into productive uses, and to begin scaling back all of these speculative opportunities, which are only made worse by ultra low interest rates, and get to a place where money is going to productive use again. One of the things I like to do is I like to tell people, imagine a factory on one side of the street and a casino on the other side. In the factory, that's where you expect to see innovation and creativity. The casino is really there for entertainment. And then the casino hangs a banner and says, the chips are free. How long do you think it's going to be before all of the creativity and innovation that's supposed to be in the factory walks across the street? And so nothing's happening in the factory. We're not becoming more productive, and therefore wages are flat. We're over here gambling in the casino, and then the people who are gambling are taking their winnings and sinking it into real estate. So now wages are flat and rents are soaring.
Right, hello? And they are, yes. Yep, sky high.
Yeah, and you wonder why we're stepping over homeless neighbors when we walk around town now.
That's an
wages are flat, rents are soaring. That's sort of a recipe for a housing crisis and a homelessness problem.
You're so right about that. Well, let me ask you, particularly as a cybersecurity expert and someone who's running for Congress, what would your position be on regulating something like cryptocurrency, just on a broader scale? Have you given any thought to that? I'm just thinking, since you're in cybersecurity, you probably have given that a thought.
I'm sorry, are you regulating what again? I didn't quite catch that.
Cryptocurrency, like your Bitcoins and things like that, because it's not regulated yet.
No, and I think that's pretty much the whole point, that it isn't regulated.
Yes, it is.
The reason why cryptocurrencies have appeal, I want you to think about your bank statement. Your bank statement is generated by a computer program. I can tell you from my background and expertise that the software your bank uses to generate your bank statement, that software has to be, comply with a whole raft of regulations and go through all kinds of certifications and checks.
For sure.
So that you can trust that your bank statement is correct. Now, 10 years ago, the financial crisis, the banking system forfeited the trust of the public. And so what the market did, was the market came up with a way to exchange one thing for another that didn't require that you trusted your bank and your bank statement. Now you have this distributed ledger called the blockchain.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about not needing to trust a bank or a central bank, not needing to trust the regulatory authorities that oversee them. Now you've got this distributed ledger that mathematically is next to impossible to forge.
Indeed.
And I think it's a beautiful thing. Now, I think what's happening now, and you're seeing crypto crashing right now. Crypto is like subprime 2.0. And all of these speculative money going into subprime mortgages 10 years ago, all of the speculative money that went into subprime 10 years ago is now going into crypto.
Sure.
And that's gonna, I think we're starting to see the beginnings of a lot of people losing a lot of money. That doesn't mean crypto's bad, and it doesn't mean crypto should be regulated. It just means that, this is all going to wash out. I think crypto, I think a blockchain combination between gold and blockchain is really where the future's going to be.
Oh, I like that. We're up against the break. And on the other side of the break, I'll let you finish that thought. I actually have another cybersecurity friend who thinks very similarly to you. So that's why I thought it was interesting that you just said that. But on the other side of the break, we'll finish talking about that. And then I'd like you to share with the audience a couple of laws in the digital industry, or the digital area, I should say, that you would possibly like to work on should you be elected. Are you game?
Very good.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is John Horst. He is a candidate for come on, Melanie, for Congress. There you go. In California District 52. We'll be back in a couple of moments.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and obstacles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
Welcome to this week's Money Talk Minute with your business diva, Melanie Collette. While companies are feeling generous due to the Trump tax cuts, this week is a great time to talk about ways to bump up your income. First, when getting a new job and negotiating your salary, get the company to name the figure initially. If you give away your current pay from the door, you won't know if you're aiming too high or selling yourself short. Getting a potential employer to name the figure first will likely get you more money. Second, negotiate for benefits. Companies will negotiate things like work hours, your official title, vacation time, how much leave you get, even the projects you'll work on. Last, discuss your salary in terms of company needs instead of your wants. Your employer wants to keep a good employee, so if you're negotiating for a raise, focus on the value that you bring to the company. That's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. Remember to listen to Money Talk with Melanie, which airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East and 2 p.m. West on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I'm sorry if you hear a little giggle. That is because my friends in the Facey chat are hilarious. That's why I'm laughing. They're cracking jokes. Pastor Henry Essick, which I just saw this, said was wondering if I had been talking to some Kennedys because my lips look frothy because I'm drinking some coffee. Don't encourage him, John. Do not encourage the good pastor. Yeah, this is what I have to put up with. My friends are pastors. Do not think that it's not hilarious most of the time. But anyway, I just caught that in the chat. I think he said it a while ago because I saw people laughing earlier. They were laughing at Henry, and I didn't know why. That's why they were laughing. But anywho, before we went to break, we were talking about whether or not we should regulate cyber currency, and you were saying that just because it's in kind of a subprime situation right now, that's no reason to regulate it. Which I agree with, by the way.
Yeah, no, there's no reason. It actually is an object lesson in why the things that we're told, the things especially that we were told before the financial crisis, and they keep telling us these things, and they frankly just don't know what they're talking about. They say that if we lose confidence in the banking system, that the whole economy will crash. No, the free market will go out and create something called Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And you guys can go bankrupt for all we care. These academic economists, Melanie, and their shiny Nobel Prizes, it's like the curtain in The Wizard of Oz now. Well, God forbid Dorothy get behind that curtain and realize these people are not who they say they are. They do not know what they claim to know.
Truer words have never been spoken. I forgot to mention to you that Greg Wilson, there are a ton of people in the chat right now, but Greg Wilson is also a cybersecurity expert, and he was wondering, it's actually a perfect segue, Greg's very good at this, was wondering what your stance is on government regulating of cybersecurity practices.
Okay, that's a perfect segue, because
right?
What I'll do is what the government has, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, let's be specific. The National Institute for Standards and Technology has a framework. It's called the Risk Management Framework. And this is the work I do. This is what I do professionally. You take a system and you go through a certain set of questionnaires, and based on the answers to the questions, you adopt a subset of what are called controls. And these controls basically say the organization is going to ensure that A, B, and C are done. Now, the whole set of controls is not a government regulation. This is not the government saying thou shalt do this, you have to do this. This is the government providing a framework by which a company can look at their system, categorize it, and then select the subset of controls that makes sense for their system and their business. One of the things I say constantly is cybersecurity is not about technology. It is about people. When cybersecurity becomes an obstacle for people to be productive when they're at work, people immediately begin figuring out how to work around the cybersecurity controls that you put in place.
So true.
You end up with a system that's even worse than if you had done nothing at all, because you feel and it looks like you're securing your system, but actually you're making your security much worse than if you had just not done anything. And so you have to tailor the things that you're going to do to control your system. They have to be tailored to the work that your people do, the nature of your business, the nature of your system. And that's what a cybersecurity professional is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be the guy that comes in, and my job is to help the ordinary worker feel that they can be both productive and secure. I can provide them, I can lock their system down to the point where you can't do anything with it. I'm not helping out if I'm doing that.
Very true.
So this risk management framework creates the ability for a company to adopt a standard for themselves. What I want to do is I want to create what we call a federal cybersecurity safe harbor law. If you adopt the risk management framework, and then you go and categorize your system, and you tailor the controls to the nature of your business, the nature of your people's work, and you document everything, then you're going to have certain protections from liability in case you lose data or you get hacked or something like that. You take due care to secure your system, and you use the risk management framework to do that. You will enjoy, as a business, you will enjoy certain protections from liability. That's the whole concept of a safe harbor in law. The Ohio State Senate has a bill in right now that will do this very thing in the state of Ohio. I want to take that concept that they have in the Ohio State Senate, want to take that national and introduce that bill in Congress.
That makes a whole lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. I'm shocked that there's nothing like that in place now, but then again, like you mentioned earlier, we have all doctors and lawyers, mostly doctors and lawyers, and I'm not sure how many cybersecurity experts we have in Congress.
There is something, there's something along these lines, but it's only for healthcare data. It's part of what's called HIPAA. There is an encryption safe harbor if you are a healthcare provider and you are following best practices when it comes to storing, a person's medical records, and you encrypt them and you follow best practices on encryption. If you do those things, you're protected from certain liabilities at the federal level with the HIPAA statute. We need to basically broaden that and cover all of cybersecurity.
Well, I mean, you would think that would be common sense.
You would.
I mean,
but again, doctors and lawyers in Congress, not always the most common sense people.
Well, I mean, why would I have to tell you that, because it's all fluid. Like anything in cyberspace, it's fluid, and it moves from one place to the other. So kind of like the whole thing needs to be protected.
Yeah, and let me pivot on from that and pivot on to what I call the Digital Liberties Amendment. I would like to see the Congress send the following to the states for ratification. The Digital Liberties Amendment would say this: all data pertaining to the identity of a person or arising from the economic activity of a person and all information derived from the data shall remain the property of the person. Now, if you want to study creepiness, Melanie, you can go out and get these cheap swabs and stick it in a vial, and you can send it to these companies that advertise, and they'll run your DNA analysis, and then they'll come back and show you, what your ancestry, your background is. Well, they own your genomic data when you do that. You do not own that data. If there was ever a piece of data that is you, it's your genomic data.
Absolutely.
One of those companies sells that data to medical researchers. They tell you that they take out the identifying information, your name and address and all that, and they just anonymize your genome, and they sell the aggregate genomic data that they collect for medical research. Here's the problem with that. If they go bankrupt, the assets will be sold by a bankruptcy court, and that data will almost certainly be the most valuable asset that the bankruptcy court will sell. And whoever buys that data gets to do anything they please with it.
Wow.
Think about it. Melanie, we haven't even begun to scratch the surface when it comes to thinking about the raw forms of power which exist in big data, especially genomic sequence data. And we've got to start asking some questions about that. And it's going to take people who know something about technology in Congress to start pushing this conversation where it needs to go. The second, with my Digital Liberties Amendment, you will unequivocally own any data that pertains to your identity or arises from your economic activity. I read an article in a financial newsletter. Target sent a mailer to a home, and it was addressed to a young woman, and it was basically a mailer congratulating her on her pregnancy, and offering to sell various products. The father saw that and was outraged, stormed into the local Target, demanded the no answer. And the management calmed him down. He ended up getting a letter from Target management saying, we've taken your daughter off of our mailing list. When that letter came in, the young woman went to her dad and said, Dad, we need to talk. Here's what happened.
I've heard that.
Target. You heard the story? Target purchased the spending patterns of customers, and based on the statistical profile of this young woman's spending patterns, Target not only correctly identified her as being pregnant, they even predicted the due date of the baby.
Whoa.
Based on the spending patterns, Melanie.
I've heard that.
You see, when you swipe your credit card, you're originating data on their system. You do not own it. When you check out a library book, you're originating data on the library system. You don't own it. When I'm on this call with you, I'm originating data on my cell phone carrier's network. I don't own it. With my amendment, we will own it. We will begin to then be able to tell companies, after such and such a date, you must remove that data from your system. We can tell Equifax, take my stuff off your system. We might make it hard to get a loan, but we should have the right to do that. When we are able to do that, we will be able to begin to minimize our exposure to cybersecurity hacks and thefts of data and breaches and things like that. But we will not have that ability to do that until we own the data. And then we'll be able to tell the government, no, I'm sorry, you cannot take my metadata and do God knows what with it.
You just took the words right out of Greg Wilson in the chat's mouth. He just said this is why people should be far more concerned about NSA metadata gathering.
Absolutely. My Digital Liberties Amendment will drive a stake through the heart of the surveillance state.
I'm stunned by what you just said. And as much as I knew about computers, I'd forgotten about that story. I'd heard that story before, but I forgot all about it. Greg Wilson says you're on fire, and unfortunately I have to put it out because we only have 2 minutes left, and you are on fire. I completely agree. It's called the Digital Liberties Amendment, right? Because I want to make sure when I post this podcast that I include that. Thank you so much. How can people support your campaign, get in touch with you, anything like that?
www.johnhorstforcongress.com. That's FOR, johnhorstforcongress.com. There's a donate link. I'm your neighbor scrapping the Mount of Viable campaign. I wish I didn't have to say it, but I do. I mean, the people more people willing to donate $25, $50, $100, $250. It really helps make me look like a viable candidate if I have a really nice large donor base, rather than just a few people giving a lot. It's better to have a lot of people giving a little bit.
Absolutely. That's true.
If you want your digital liberties back, please support my campaign, and we'll go make that happen.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John Horst, for being here. I appreciate it so very much, and best of luck to you with your campaign. I hope you come back.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank my sponsors as well. I did not thank them during the course of the show. Tax Mama Eva Rosenberg. I want to thank you, taxmama.com. She's coming out with a new book called The Trump Tax Plan. It's actually due out this month, sometime this month. So look for that on taxmama.com, and then businessbuyeradvantage.com. David Barnett, thank you so much for supporting the show. I want to thank everybody in the Facey chat, Greg, Doug, the whole pile of you guys. Thank you so much. Ron Edwards for being here, and everybody at SHR Media and High Plains MoneyTalk Radio Land. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it is your money.